Please, I'm on my knees begging. They are not normal. They have some mental issue. The way nobody will stand there for you. The abused, we
Any of you guys who have been following me for some time now know that I have covered off a ton of divested disasters. Or put another way, I have covered off the amount of stories of Black women, unfortunately, and sometimes Black men who get caught up in the propaganda associated with interracial relationships. I am not saying that interracial relationships are inherently bad. What I am saying is that there is a lot of propaganda with respect to it online, on media, constantly being pushed. And a lot of times this propaganda ends up being anti-Black. It ends up going something like, Black men are horrible, therefore I had to divest, and now white men treat me better, or things of that nature. And then there's also this idea that dating white, primarily dating white and older, is a good way for Black women to be hypergamous, to level up, or to essentially escape their struggle poverty life. So y'all know I have a whole playlist dedicated to this. Check it out if you haven't already. But I was sent this video from a Kenyan woman. And while many of the divested disasters that I have covered off have actually taken place in the United States of America, don't get it fooled. We know that this mentality is something that impacts Black women globally. A lot of it is the impacts of colonization, post-slavery, post all of that. And so we are still seeing the impacts of that today. And I wanted to break down this video from a Kenyan social worker who really just completely obliterates and destroys, again, a lot of the divested swirl of propaganda that women so often find themselves drawn to when they are ultimately struggling to pay their bills or to try to just make it in this world. So without further ado, we're going to play it, and then I'm going to share some of my thoughts.
My beautiful sisters from East Africa, especially from Kenya and Burundi, this video is for you. I'm on my knees. I'm a social worker. My name is Becky. I live in Sweden. I work a lot with two families from Africa. Please, I'm on my knees begging. Most of these European men you are getting married to, they are not normal. They have some mental issue. The way nobody will stand there for you. The abused, they have to tell us every day. It's horrible. You don't need to go through that. That is not a way to escape poverty.
Listen to what she said. There was a lot just in that little 30-second clip. She said, the abuse, you don't have to go through that. That is not a way to escape poverty. She hit the nail on the head. A lot of women look at white men as their basically insurance policy, as their way to escape poverty, as their way to level up, to be hypergamous, to jump social classes. And the reality is that has almost never been how somebody escapes poverty. Like statistically, people aren't leveling up by just like marrying into a higher class. Like that rarely happens. People by and large tend to marry within their own social class. This is the same for, white people, of course. I mean, that's actually how they've been able to maintain power and control in the West, through being able to manage these resources through marriage. But my bigger point is this whole idea of like, oh, you have a struggle life, so look to a white man as like an insurance policy or for a trust fund or as a sense of reparations, because yes, I've heard that weird ideology, is super dangerous because first of all, the likelihood of that happening is just super low statistically. And secondly, when a woman is out there and she's desperate and just looking for her bills to be paid, she will settle for just about anything. And another thing that I found about ladies who get so caught up in this whole like diverse for swirler stuff and the white man is going to treat me better, pasta and lobster, is that these women oftentimes actually don't really know white people like that. Because like if you grew up knowing white people, having relationships with them, you would know that they have struggles just like everybody else. Yes, there are rich white people, there are middle class white people, there are poor white people, there are white people that have their own emotional, psychological traumas, baby daddy drama, baby mama drama, daddy ain't there. Like they deal with the same stuff that you can find in other communities. And so also sometimes women think just by nature of them not dating somebody in their own community, they're just going to escape it all. And anytime somebody has that idea, it lets you know that they don't know white people. Because if you knew white people, you would know that they still have struggles. Yes, I am not denying the fact that there are obviously institutional advantages that have put them in the West, right, in the European nations, like it's given them yeah, access to resources and funds that are harder to come by when you are not of European descent. But classism is still real. Like, you still have hella poor white people in America. You still have hella poor white people in Europe and all those nations. And like, it's just such a lie. It's just such a lie for a woman to think that marrying white is going to be the best way for her to get right financially and to ultimately get a better life. That is a fantasy. And that has actually caused a lot of women to become hurt in the worst case scenario, unalived. But anyways, let's continue with what she has to say.
That's not the word. That is not a gateway to enrich yourself. Stop it. You smozungu, or you call it what? You're getting married to European men with underlying issues that are beating you. They're destroying your body. They're doing all kinds of horrible things to you that they cannot do it to their white women. No journalist will stand there for you. No law enforcement officer will give you justice. No court will give you justice. No social worker will take sides with you. Instead, they will take advantage of you. They are removing your children. The so-called partner is beating you. They're doing all kinds of things with your body. We need to stop.
Whew, that is hard to hear. Now, I'm assuming, because she did say she was a social worker in Sweden, so I'm assuming she is dealing with basically immigrant women who are coming into Sweden and dealing with these, what some of y'all may call bottom shelf brads, getting in these disputes and then maybe trying to litigate through the courts or do whatever, and they don't have any rights. Because I'm like, you know, if you're in Sweden and there's a dispute between a Swedish man and an immigrant, it's like they're more likely to go with like the actual citizen there, the person who like looks like they're from that place. But the bigger picture that I've been reiterating and continue to reiterate, especially as the economy just changes, is that white men and white people are not an insurance policy. They are not the ticket out of Black women's misery. Whether she is from Africa, the continent, whether she is from America or she's from the Caribbean, because like I said, these ideas are pretty much anywhere and everywhere women are struggling financially, and they're not that. And another thing that we have to remember is that like attracts like. So if you are moving and if you are looking for a person based upon like demented motives, broken motives, then you are likely to attract somebody who is equally as demented and broken in their ideals. So it's not surprising to me that a woman may look at a man or see him as like a paycheck or an ATM or an insurance policy or a life insurance policy, and then end up picking these dudes who have horrible character because they never connected based upon true, genuine love or respect. She just was looking for somebody to pay her bills, and he probably just saw her as an easy opportunity to take advantage of. It's not a good look. That is not a reason to get in a relationship. At that point, you're better off being a prostitute. And listen, I do not support prostitution, but it's more honest and it's more ethical to just be an honest prostitute than to sit here and try to like, you know, pretend that you care about somebody and it's really about just getting their money in their bag. Because that's just, not only to me is that just immoral, but ultimately you set yourself up for failure and when that's how you look at it. And you don't really love the person for who they are. Almost done here.
We cannot go so low. We need to stop this thing. I mean, the complaints are so enormous. So many complaints. I feel sad what my African sisters are going through in the hands of European men. Kenyan sisters, please, if there's an NGO, try to talk to them. Talk to the young girls in Kenya. Talk to the women in Kenya, in Burundi, that they should be careful. They should be careful getting married to these European men. They call whether it's Muzungu or what. Most often, 80% of the time, it doesn't end up well. And if you see the way they treat our women, oh Lord, you will not believe. It's horrible.
Well, see, and that's the thing too. You got all these social media experts talking about how to date a rich man, how to snag a white man, how to get him to pay all your bills and all this kind of different stuff. And it's like, y'all really think, especially if it's a man of means who's been around the block for a few decades, that he's going to just sit there and hand over his money to somebody half his age? Absolutely no way. Because like I said, a lot of these ladies are targeting older men because they want their pocketbook. You think he spent all that hard work acquiring that wealth or receiving it from his, from his family if he's sitting on generational wealth? You think he's going to take all that and just hand it over easily? Like, no, a lot of these dudes are just playing these females because they know for them it's a game. These ladies think that they have the upper hand and then they find out real quick, fast, and in a hurry that they got played, that these guys aren't playing, that they are like decades, eons ahead of them. That's what happens. It's not a good look.
It's horrible. The complaints are so many. There are so many, they don't love us. Please, I'm on my knees.
Honestly, it's like nobody, if you don't love them, you were just looking at their pocketbook or seeing their whiteness as social status, their whiteness as a way for you to level up and get into a higher class. That's the love isn't there either way. So like, it's kind of like tit for tat. And I'm not saying that I obviously don't wish harm or wish any wrongdoing on any of these ladies. But what I'm saying is when you play with fire, you cannot be surprised when you get burned. And that's what's happening.
There's little we can do. There's little we can do. I cannot count how many of them are in women's shelter, beaten by these men. I cannot count how many of these our mixed children that have been taken, abused, violated, used for all kinds of purposes. They don't even value the children you're having with them. So please, you need to be very careful. You need to be very careful.
That was a short 2-minute video, but it said a lot. I've said it before and I'll say it again, like, we just gotta get rid of the fantasy, gotta get rid of the Disney fantasy, just throw that out the door. A lot of the stuff you see on social media regarding relationships and all that stuff it's just toxic. It is not going to help women at all. And at the end of the day, like, anytime you're looking to try to use somebody for the resources, whether it be through relationships or whatever, like, you're setting yourself up for failure. That is not healthy, and that's not how God intended relationships to be. The best chance a woman actually has for wealth in the long term is through a committed relationship, through a marriage. And I know, particularly in America and the West, that like so many women now are anti-marriage or all these different things, or maybe they want a wedding, but they don't want the marriage, aka working together with a man, building a family, a legacy, going through the process. They don't want to do that. But that's actually the most stable and the most likely way a woman can actually acquire wealth, if they will, or through the soft life, is through just simply working with men in your community. And again, if you happen to fall in love with somebody outside of your race, no problem. Just don't look at him as a walking ATM, as a trust fund, and get glamorized by the fact that, or enamored by the fact that he has white skin, and overlook obvious red flags. Like I said before, if you play with fire, you cannot be surprised when you get burned. Anyways, y'all, that's what I got. What y'all think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let me know down in the comment section. Thank you so much for listening. If you've gotten this far, and we'll talk later. Bye.